We're the Gaussian curveballs, and here's the pitch.
Strike.
Here's the lineup.
Let's play ball. To add a couple players to our lineup, we first got the coordinates of the game locations. We got some play-by-play data, and we also scraped some betting odds.
As for the travel overview, we want to look at when teams are traveling, how far they're traveling. So here we have the distributions of kilometers traveled and thousands of kilometers for each division and each team. Due to schedule changes in 2023, we wanted to separate out that year and see how the distributions compare. So this is that comparison. And as you can see, the distributions have more weight on the end of their tails towards traveling farther.
Now for a quick look at how time zone impacts wins. A bar graph here with 3 separate line graphs overlaid on top. Each individual bar represents a team's win rate with a time zone advantage, where the time zone advantage simply means that they had a smaller time zone difference in that current game than their opposing team. As we can see, the blue line represents the time zone advantage for each team. The black line represents a hometown advantage, while the red line represents having both the home and time zone advantage. The red and black lines remain clearly over the 50% mark throughout the entire season, but the blue line appears to be dipping into it just a little bit. I conducted a hypothesis test, and all 3 lines actually had statistical significance, and a true win rate for each advantage was greater than 50%.
The next thing that we did was take a look at player performance, specifically pitching based on travel. So the first thing we did was broke down pitches by pitch type and then created linear models to predict whether or not they would be a swing and a miss. So each of these has different feature importances, each of the pitch types. The fastball importance, we can see that vertical acceleration is the most important, where vertical placement has a large negative effect. And next is slider importance. Vertical movement has a very high linear weight, and vertical acceleration has a very low one. We're going to look at the impact of travel on these important factors. So for pitchers specifically, the impact on vertical acceleration, which we saw was very important on making a fastball successful, is dependent on the time between series and the time zone differential, but we can see very small correlations in these points. However, with so much data and very bona fide results, we can see a p-value that suggests significance. This was a trend throughout our data as we looked at importances and weights in multiple facets.
Next, we'll be going over team performance and specifically its relation to betting odds. So first, we wanted to find some betting odds online. So we used Selenium to scrape betting odds off of Odds Portal. We were able to get betting odds from 2008 to 2023. Odds are typically a really good metric for determining home win percentage and very difficult to beat that. So to confirm this, we set a linear regression model to predict team win, and we found that this coefficient was right next to 1, which implies that the odds strongly fit. So next we wanted to predict what these actual odds would be, because if we could predict what the odds would be, we could see the direct impact of travel data and see if it actually had an importance. We realized that these parameters don't necessarily have linear relationships, so we decided to use a random forest model for this. The parameters that we ended up using is we split the data into 2 parts. We took the first half of the season, took the average team stats, and then we also found the average stats from each of the starting pitchers so that we could have the correct pitchers for each game. And then we used this data to test in the second half of regular season. So we fit this model to find feature importance, and however, we found that almost all the traveling parameters were one of the least important of the entire model. We found that the traveling parameters did not have a predictive power for winning. To test this data in 2023, we took the 4 best features and found that our model was actually very, very strong. While we found correlation between performance and traveling, we didn't find that there was a predictive or causal impact between the 2. Thank you.
Ball game.